What do you call three African presidents who just sang the same national anthem in three different countries at the exact same time? Well, you call it a birth ceremony for a new nation. While the world was busy doom-scrolling Trump tantrums and watching Elon Musk rename Mars, Africa quietly redrew the map and didn't even ask for permission. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger didn't just form an alliance. They dropped a national anthem, raised one flag, and told foreign powers, "We are not just uniting, we are becoming one." And that creates history because we have never seen three countries choosing to be one before. No one saw it coming. No Western think tank predicted it. But now the borders are melting, the armies are merging, the anthem is real, and the world is asking, did Africa just form a secret superstate while no one was watching? In this video, let's find out. On June 9, 2025, while the Western world was too distracted, something much more consequential happened far away from Silicon Valley and Washington. In the heart of Africa, in Bamako, Ouagadougou, and Niamey, a quiet but powerful revolution erupted not through protests, not through bullets, but through melody. At the exact same time in each capital, a new national anthem called Sahel Benken was played. It wasn't just a new tune, it was a coded message, a sonic declaration, and perhaps the most profound moment of continental identity in decades. This wasn't the celebration of a treaty or a ceremonial performance. This was a synchronized heartbeat. A moment so deliberately orchestrated that it rang louder than any press conference. What echoed across the Sahel wasn't merely sound, it was sovereignty. What happened that day was not a mere change in protocol. It was a metamorphosis. Three countries, each with its distinct language, military, and challenges, stood in unity under a single anthem. This was not diplomacy. This was destiny. In Mali, General Assimi Goïta oversaw a flag-raising ceremony where the anthem wasn't just played, it was honored. There were no long-winded speeches, no Western journalists dissecting sound bites. There was just the sound of Sahel Benken, confident, determined, and loaded with meaning. And by evening, it was already part of the school curriculum. This wasn't a feel-good gesture. This was a curriculum change. That's how identity gets planted, not on social media, but in textbooks and morning assemblies. 2 days later, in Niamey, the momentum intensified. President Abdourahmane Tiani received the official score of the anthem from an AES delegation. They had come from Burkina Faso, where President Ibrahim Traoré had already stood silently while the anthem filled the skies of Ouagadougou. That moment didn't need interpretation. When a country plays another country's anthem as its own, and not just plays it, but harmonizes it in real time with two others, it's a sign that the lines on a map are starting to blur. And not because foreign powers redrew them, but because Africans themselves decided they no longer mattered. But this new unity didn't emerge out of thin air. It was the latest chapter in a story of rejection, rebellion, and resurgence. Years earlier, these same countries had expelled French troops from their soil, signaling the end of an era of military subservience. Then came the joint withdrawal from ECOWAS, a bloc seen by many as a proxy for Western influence. Yet the steps didn't stop there. Gold nationalization followed, creating a financial firewall. AES passports were introduced, allowing seamless regional movement, military coordination, shared command structures, and sovereign trade strategies were all stitched into the same fabric. And now, with this anthem, that fabric had color, sound, and soul. Interestingly, the brilliance of this maneuver isn't in the volume of the anthem, it's in its psychological engineering. Western powers have long measured sovereignty in bombs dropped, bases built, and borders drawn. But the Sahel has quietly introduced a different metric: what lives in the hearts of its people. Music, especially national anthems, drills straight into the subconscious. It's not a policy document. It's not a trade deal. It's an emotional blueprint. When three formerly distinct nations choose to condition their children, soldiers, teachers, and workers with the same musical code, they are not preparing for collaboration. They are sculpting a shared destiny. This isn't mere symbolism. This is neuropolitical architecture. When a 6-year-old in Ouagadougou rises every morning to the same tune sung by his cousin in Niamey and a pen pal in Bamako, he is not just becoming patriotic. He is being rewired to feel part of something larger than his village or country. Over time, he doesn't need to be told who his allies are. He feels it. He doesn't need a passport to belong. The anthem becomes his citizenship. You see, by unifying national sentiment through a common melody, the Sahel states are laying the groundwork for an emotional federation not just of policies, but of pulse. It's cultural engineering without the banners and bullets. And it's far more dangerous to foreign interests, because it can't be invaded, bribed, or sanctioned. You can't bomb an idea. You can't exile a shared memory. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black Africa. Let's continue now. Most African unions of the past collapsed under the weight of bureaucracy and ego. But this is different. It begins not in parliament, but in song, a declaration that the relation between Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali is not just of unity. It's about being one. It's about erasing borders and making all citizens feel they are the citizens of all three countries at the same time. And nothing, not military, economic, or political cooperation, can be more effective than the people feeling they are the same. And perhaps that's the real threat. Not that the Sahel states are creating a new bloc, but that they are creating a new African psyche. One that no longer looks outward for validation. One that sees its future not as a patchwork of colonial leftovers, but as a self-determined continent humming the same tune. This is the kind of long game the West never saw coming. Because while Washington and Paris measure influence in bases and budgets, the Sahel measures it in belonging. And belonging is spreading. Chad, which for years walked a tightrope between appeasing the West and maintaining independence, made its move. When the United States imposed a visa ban, Chad didn't negotiate. It didn't plead. It simply banned U.S. citizens from entering, period. That move alone shattered every expectation of how African states are supposed to behave. And then Chad pivoted, reaching out to the AES not as a silent observer, but as a potential partner. What was once unthinkable had become inevitable. Ghana followed suit, in its own way. Long seen as a Western darling, Ghana began turning its gaze inward. The appointment of an AES ambassador and diplomatic visits to Bamako and Ouagadougou were not minor shifts. They were statements. When the U.S. tried to retaliate with vague travel warnings, Ghana doubled down, opening its ports to AES-linked trade and fast-tracking regional deals. There was no outcry, no press conference, just action. Because sometimes, the best way to confront an empire is to simply ignore it. And then Botswana joined the rhythm, a country famous for diamonds, suddenly making headlines for defiance. No longer would its raw diamonds leave the country uncut. From now on, value stays in Africa. That decision didn't happen in isolation. It was inspired by Burkina Faso's bold gold policy, a refusal to let multinationals suck the continent dry while the people go hungry. Africa is no longer interested in exporting raw materials and importing poverty. The new rule is simple: refine here, benefit here. And this isn't a trend, it's a transformation. Within the AES, the anthem now carries more power than a military parade. It's already changing behaviors. In classrooms, kids sing it every morning. In barracks, soldiers drill to its rhythm. On radio broadcasts, it opens the day. Over time, this repetition won't just build unity, it will build instinct. Instinct to defend, to cooperate, to trust across artificial borders. And once instinct is nationalized, resistance to it becomes nearly impossible. This is how nations are formed, not with treaties, but with repetition. What Europe did with bureaucracy, Africa is doing with rhythm. And slowly, The world is realizing that this isn't a passing experiment. It's a template, a new way of building a country without changing maps. It doesn't need a central bank yet, or a single parliament, or a unified currency, although all of those are coming. It just needs citizens who think of themselves as one. And that transformation is happening right now, not in the halls of the UN, but in the hearts of people who have stopped caring about colonial-era lines. This new kind of statehood doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't beg for loans. It doesn't need to be accepted by Paris or Washington or Brussels, because the people who built it have already accepted each other. When an anthem gets into your bones, it erases borders in your head. You no longer fight for Mali or Niger or Burkina Faso. You fight for something bigger, something born not of treaties, but of truth. That is the Confederation of Sahel States. And this is only the beginning. Currency reform is on the table, a real alternative to the CFA franc. Embassies may soon be consolidated. A unified foreign policy is in discussion. Military integration is already partially complete. And a shared education system, one that produces Sahel citizens rather than fragmented nationalists, is already in motion. The map won't change, but the minds behind it will. And when that generation grows up, the world will be forced to admit something powerful was born, and it didn't need to be declared. It simply needed to be heard. So when people ask whether the birth of Africa's next superstate just happened, the answer isn't in a policy document. It's not in a press release. It's not in a flag change or a currency swap. It's in a song that echoed across the Sahel, unified 3 nations, and planted a seed in millions of African hearts. The rest of the world may have been too busy watching tech billionaires play God or politicians flame out on live TV, but Africa was listening and singing. And from now on, that's all that matters. What do you think? Is the world ready to admit that 3 so-called military juntas are doing more for African sovereignty than decades of democracy funded by foreign aid? Why is it that unity frightens the West more than coups? Is it because they can't control a united Africa? In the comment section below, share your thoughts on whether Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger can cause a continental revolution that will unite the whole continent, that will have no borders. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on Black Africa, its history, rich arts and culture, and things the world should know about. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.